finally, today we have our third guest. If you're watching this as a standalone, please do find the last two people I interviewed, Adam and Oz, both fascinating fellows. And now a very drastic departure from those two guys, a person I've known for many years, who is just fantastic in every way. Everyone who meets him enjoys him. And really another smart fellow. Please allow me to introduce our last guest today, Daniel Ian Smith, the founder of Village West Design. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you, David. That's quite an intro to live up to. I'll do my best.
Not at all. But, we were just talking offline about lighting. And behind you, you have a few very pretty lamps, and so I think that's a really interesting place to start. You are an interior designer and an architect and, more. Talk to us about lighting. Is that the first thing you think of when you walk into a project?
It's not the first thing I think of. And oftentimes homeowners sort of leave lighting to the very end. It's the thing that no one wants to talk about or deal with or allocate money to because it's sort of invisible in a lot of ways. I can talk more about that if you want, but it's very important that it goes in.
So it's the last thing that homeowners often think about. Why is that? Because they are lazy. They think that if it doesn't come through the windows, it doesn't deserve to be illuminated.
Well, I don't think it's lazy. I mean, I don't expect everyone to be a lighting designer. I think what it is when we think about designing a space, decorating a space, renovating a space, we think of what the items are in the space. So we think about, for a kitchen, we think about, where are we going to store things, or what the countertop material is, or what color we're going to paint the walls. For a living room, for instance, you might think about the furniture and the rug and the wall color and all those things. And really nothing matters if you can't see it properly, if it's not illuminated and we don't have the flexibility that a good lighting plan affords us. Then it doesn't matter if you have the most comfortable sofa or the most beautiful artwork. If you can't see it properly, or if you can't sit down and read the book that you want to read in that location.
So your work is it focused on commercial spaces, or is it heavily or mainly residential?
It's pretty much exclusively residential. And in a home, just like in any space, there are basically 4 types of lighting. And so you have the ambient lighting. That's when you walk into the bedroom and you flip the light switch, or you come home and you flip the switch, and you get a general overview of the space. And that's pretty much where I would say non-professionals tend to stop. Sometimes they get into the second type, which is task lighting. So that's, you're sitting at a desk and you need to have lighting so that you can write or read or draw. And that's task lighting. And we think of that, for instance, in a kitchen with under cabinet lighting. There are so many kitchens that I've gone into where just adding proper task lighting makes all the difference. And you don't even have to swap out the cabinetry and countertops and flooring, because if you can see to cook, all of a sudden you have a functional space. And there are 2 other types of lighting which come up. One is spot lighting. So if you have artwork or something, a beautiful piece of furniture, or even outdoor area with plants you want to illuminate, spotlighting really focuses attention. And then the third type, which you can see sort of in the background. Type. Oh, yes.
Ambient lighting, task lighting, spotlighting.
Yes.
What's the 4th?
The 4th one is decorative. So that's where the light source itself is something really beautiful and you draw attention to that. And some lighting, like a pendant over a chandelier over a dining table, that can be multiple. So it can be something really beautiful, and it also is affording the opportunity to see what you're eating. So it's also task. But for me, like these are from the Noguchi Museum. Have you ever been there? It's in Astoria. It's beautiful.
I have.
So these paper lanterns or decorative lights come from Isamu Noguchi. And they're beautiful to look at, and they also afford some usage.
I'm blown away. I mean, and I know you, and I also have been in a few of the homes that you've worked on, and it's interesting because light is such a challenge. And I think for most of us in New York, we have some, knowledge that there are certain properties that have these, billion-dollar views, basically, water views and skyscraper views and park views. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of very expensive homes that have very little view, even in good areas, but they just, just the nature of vertical living. So, making sure those places don't turn into dungeons is really a play, something that is important to maintain their value, or else it won't
Absolutely.
be desirable.
Absolutely. And even the places, as you know, I have this beautiful garden, although can't see it from this angle. But even for a place like mine, where you have a beautiful garden or a water view, or you're looking out at the Chrysler building, the fact is, at some point, it's night. At some point, you close the curtains. And at some point, you are internally focused and you want to be able to see and appreciate and function in that space. And so that's lighting.
Well, I think that gives us a segue to the next thing I just wanted to generally allow us to visit is that you are a very well-known, at least to me, designer, architect, and you've been published. The home you're in now was on the cover of was it Dwell magazine?
It was in Dwell magazine, yes.
A leader of the industrial interior design field. And how would you describe yourself to someone you met at a cocktail party that you were going to talk to for 5 to 10 minutes?
That is a good question. Well, I do architecture and interior design. I came to interior design through architecture. I started out with my master's degree in architecture and working at architecture firms. So I
Wait, hold on,
summarized-
Daniel.
Yes.
I'm at a cocktail party. Maybe I've had a few drinks. What the heck is the difference between architecture and interior design? Isn't that the same thing?
First of all, you can tell, David, that I'm not great at cocktail parties. I think
Yes, you are.
I should have brought a drink to this interview.
I guess
Maybe
you
I
should have. Me too. Damn it. I have a coaster home, all I can say.
Yeah, I have some posters, but that's not going to get me very far. Well, actually, there's a lot of overlap between architecture and interior design, and there are a lot of technical differences. But to summarize it, I think of architecture as the structure of the space itself, and interior design is how we use the space and how we function in that space.
And then if I wanted to work with you, are you just a concept person? I mean, you show me what it should look like, and then you say, call this guy, he'll get it done? Or
No, not just the concept. In fact, if it were just concept, I think it would just be art. I mean, one of the great things about architecture and interior design is these are functional spaces. They have to be habitable, and they have to come in on time and on budget and all those other things. So it's
you don't
not
do
just,
that, do you?
I do all of it. Sure.
All of it?
All of it. I mean, I'm not alone. I have a team.
In other words, you are a soup to nuts. If I buy a place that needs complete renovation,
Yes.
you could help me with the project from the time I get the keys to the time there's nothing left to be done. And
Absolutely.
you have a holistic approach in which you not only helped me do the design, which is something distinct from architecture, then you could help me with the architecture, then you could help us together as a team enact our plan from beginning to end, and then until
Absolutely. I stick with a project until it's completely done and it's dusted and settled and you're totally happy and you can't think of anything else you could possibly ask me. Yeah, soup to nuts, Village West Design, we do it all. Honestly, there is so much that happens during the process. My recommendation for your homeowners who are watching this is to pick someone that they really enjoy and connect with, because you're going through a lot together and it's a long process and a lot can happen during that process. So you want someone at the helm who can really see the end vision and get you there and doesn't get sort of ruffled along the way, because we have, as you know, we have some potentially challenging co-op boards and condo associations and city regulations. I mean, there's a lot in New York. And then you have
It's unbelievably
contractors, and
scary.
right now we have,
Most people are terrified of all this crap. I mean, they just don't want to deal with it, and I don't blame them.
well, that's why they task me with all those things. And because I do it and it's my job, it doesn't scare me. There are plenty of things that do scare me, and then I ask someone else for professional help.
Well, you know, if you're able to conquer your fears and take action, and push your limits and create the space that you really want, how much value can a good renovation add to a home? And I know that you're not just a New York City practitioner and homeowner. You've also recently been to Silicon Valley, San Francisco area, Bay
That's
Area,
true. I'm
where
bi-coastal now. You're
doing
right.
where you have a presence. Is that the West and Village West? No, but
That's very clever, David. I'm gonna have to do that.
but so from coast to coast, what is the true value of a good renovation?
Well, the actual numbers, I would always say, talk to a professional like you for the realtor input, which is really important. I mean, the first thing I always ask is, why are we renovating? I mean, if we're renovating, as you know, if the goal is to sell the property, it's very different, because all of a sudden the end user is someone else. It's not the homeowner.
Dude, you're
selling the
so
property.
right. And I tell everyone that, and you can imagine I have these conversations every day over huge
Every day.
fortunes of money. And I always say to everyone that the first thing that's most important is that you love where you live. Money comes and goes. We'll figure out that piece, but I cannot solve for you in 6 months from now whether or not you got a good deal or a bad deal if you absolutely do not like living there. I mean, it's not worth it.
It's true. It's true. To answer your question about what is the value? Well, first of all, if we're talking about what we get out of our own homes, I mean, not to be cliche, but it's kind of priceless, for exactly the reason you just said, because if you don't enjoy the space that you live in, then what's the point? So I would
All right,
say,
but let's be less abstract. Let's be
okay.
more
All right, we're being more
you get
practical.
a 2-bedroom apartment, it's crappy and you make it nice. What's it?
Well, I would say easily 10%.
Interesting. I would actually agree that would be impossible to get less than that, and quite possible to get more in some cases.
I mean, it depends on the renovation. I mean, it's
Right.
it's hard to say totally, but it depends on where you start and where you end up. But having a home where you walk in and there's a wow factor, and that's going to appeal to a buyer, absolutely.
It's really everything. So before we go, Daniel, tell me, what project do you have either coming up or that you've recently completed that you were just super proud of?
I'm going to mention the project that you're familiar with in Tribeca. I currently have a project in Brooklyn, Long Island City, one uptown, and then the one in Tribeca. And the one in Tribeca, we've been putting some finishing touches on, and I can't wait to get that photographed and out into the world. It's a beautiful loft space, and the homeowner is not afraid of doing some exciting things, color and style, really beautiful stuff.
She is one of our favorite people. We love her. And we love you, Daniel. And that's why whenever we know you are the guy for the job, we make sure people know it. And now everyone knows. So you are Daniel Ian Smith. You work out of New York City and Northern California.
San Francisco. Mm-hmm.
San Francisco. How do people find you?
VillageWestDesign.com. Easy.
VillageWestDesign.com.
You got it.
Daniel, thanks again. And I really appreciate you joining us today for What's the Deal. And for all of you watching from wherever you're watching, if you have questions for me, David.Rosen, about real estate in New York, or any of our amazing guests that we had today, please just send me a direct message or email me, and I will be sure to answer. Thank you.